Hey Trailmate, it's been a while since I've seen you last, and during that time I've had a little bit of a dark realization. I'm old. My back hurts all the time. And I think part of that is because of the seats that are here in the JL. And while they are an upgrade over the JKs, they're still not the most comfortable seats to take a long ride in or hit a trail on. So that's why our friends over at Corbeau and Extreme Terrain have hooked us up, and we're gonna be installing some new seats on Gertie. My eyes are down here. That's better. All right, so like I said, it's time to upgrade the seats on Gertie. Now, there's a few reasons I wanted to make the change and a few reasons why I went with Corbeau as the best option. Now, the first thing is the material itself. This is a very premium feeling seat, which is a big upgrade from the stock cloth ones that I have in Gertie. So that's immediately an upgrade. Just sitting here right now, I can actually feel it hugging around my back, hugging around my neck, and I feel really supported. The other thing that people ask a lot of times when it comes to the aftermarket seats is whether or not it reclines. These ones do. See? And while this isn't the most flattering way to show myself in this right now, I'm going to go with this for the rest of the video. So whatever, deal with it. Now, the last part that makes these different than the stock ones is the suspension system itself. So this is a suspension seat, which means that it has bands underneath that allow a little bit more give and makes it a very comfortable experience even when hitting a trail. This has springs underneath, which is a little less forgiving and which is why it's notoriously stiff. So those are kind of the added feature that Corbeau has worked into these XRS suspension seats that kind of just made this a no-brainer. The installation itself should be nice and easy and shouldn't take more than maybe an hour. With basic hand tools, you do need to buy the brackets that are specific to your Jeep. I have the ones for the JL, but you can get it for the JK, TJs, I believe the CJs as well. But you just have to get the bracket, the seat, and then you should be able to do a pretty straightforward install, which we're going to do right now after I recline a little more. The first step is going to be to remove the seat that's currently in its place. To do that, we're going to need a T45 to remove the bolts that are 1, 2, 3. Holding the existing one down. So let's go ahead and zap those off. Okay, so now that we have the 4 bolts taken out of the bracket that's secured to the Jeep, we can tilt the seat back and we have access to one major wire harness that is right here that I'll show you in just a second that we have to undo, which attaches to all the electrical that's in the seat itself. So there's 2 wire harnesses that we actually are going to be disconnecting. There's going to be this main guy right here, and then there's this yellow one that slips onto this yellow harness that's towards the front of the seat. So once those 2 are removed, we'll go ahead and set those aside, and the whole Jeep seat assembly is ready to come out. All right, so now we can remove the seat itself. We're just gonna bring it forward a little bit and at a little bit of an angle to help it squeeze out without scratching anything. There we go. All right, so now that we have the seat out, we're gonna go ahead and remove the seat belt and the wiring that's attached with it. It's just held on by this T45. So that comes out, retain that bolt. There's a wire that just loops around, just gotta find where it's connected. There's a bunch of Christmas trees underneath the seats that hold a lot of these components in place. You're gonna have to undo quite a few of them, because the other part of this is you have to remove the main wiring harness that's underneath the JL seat, because you're gonna need access to this big clip, which will then attach to the seatbelt wire as well. All right, so we've got the bracket secured now to the seat. All we had to do is use the 4 bolts that come on the bottom of the Corbeau seat, and they go into 1, 2, and if we slide this forward, you can see the other 4 spots, 3, 4, that's where the 4 bolts go. The wiring harness at the bottom, we're just going to go ahead and zip tie it to the bottom of this bracket right here so it's out of the way. The only thing that we needed to use is just this one that attaches to the seatbelt harness, and then obviously this big one that'll attach back to the wiring harness that's sticking out of the carpet in the JL. Now for the seatbelt itself, you're going to be attaching using the factory hardware to the little spot right here on the bracket. It's pre-threaded, so all you have to do is just bolt that in, and after we're done with this, we're ready to just slide this back into the Jeep, make sure it fits nice well, plug in the harness, and then bolt down the 4 spots where the bracket attaches to the body of the Jeep. And the brackets are side specific. So on the bottom it'll say either driver's side or passenger side. So just make sure to pay attention to that. And it is going to be a little bit of a snug fit because this is a wider seat than this factory JL. There we go. Now that the bracket is in place, we're going to use the original 4 bolts that we took out from the stock seat, and we're just going to put them right back in. And then after that, all we have to do is attach the wiring harness that we zip tied underneath the seat to the factory harness that's still coming up from the bottom carpet area, and it'll be fully installed. So now that the brackets are secured, we're going to go ahead and attach the wiring harnesses together. And then we'll go ahead and push them forward and then zip tie them a little bit more forward facing, so that way they don't look cluttered or you don't see a bunch of wires either from the front or the back. We'll just have it nice and tight up against the bottom of the seat, and that is the last step of the installation. So like I said, that wraps up the installation of the Corbeau Baja XRS suspension seats. Installation was actually pretty easy. 2 out of 5 is probably what I'd rate it. There's just a matter of attaching the seat to the bracket to the factory spots. Electrical is really easy because, like I said, all we did was just have to attach the sensor for the seat belt back to the factory harness, and that's it electrical wise. First impressions of this seat are that it's incredibly comfortable. So far my favorite parts are that the sides, both on the arms and the legs, are raised and give you that little bit of extra support here on the side. The middle has a little bit of give, but it is still nice and firm where it gives you comfort, but you don't feel like you're sloshing around all over the place. I can see myself driving in this a lot easier on long road trips than the factory cloth. Speaking of the material, this is very, very, very high quality. It looks like it's going to hold up to a beating. Yeah, I don't have any doubt that this is going to do well, even when we're doing some extreme off-roading. It's much better than the cloth that came from the factory. Extreme Terrain does offer a wide variety of the Corbeau seats. Really, when it comes down to it, when you're going to go aftermarket, you might as well invest in something that has good quality, because the price difference from a low-quality aftermarket seat to a high-quality like the Corbeau is not that big when you consider that you're going to get many years out of this seat. And ultimately, if you're looking for comfort, it's better to spend a couple $100 than going with something that you're just not going to be happy with. Looking at the quality of the material, the way it feels already, and just the overall way that it looks inside this Jeep, I would definitely say the Corbeau is the way to go. Extreme Terrain does have a wide variety of their products, so definitely go ahead and check out the catalog. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about the product, the installation, anything at all, feel free to drop it down below. As always, we appreciate your support here on TrailMade and can't wait to see you on the next video. Thanks.